Hi everyone, I'm Steve Krause and welcome to Writing 354 Online for Fall 2020. This is a short video that's kind of what would it be like if it was their first day of class in a face-to-face classroom where, the professor goes over the syllabus and says you should read the syllabus but still hits a few highlights and things like that. I'm going to look at the class website, you should too. So, okay, let me go ahead and get started. This is the class website, at least this is how it probably looks to you on Canvas. I'm going to go ahead and start by clicking on the syllabus, and there I am. My last name is Krause, but most people pronounce it Kraus, but that's fine. I'm not going to have a whole lot of time in my office or much need for my office phone this semester. Best way by far to get a hold of me is email, and I will be having some office hours on Zoom. I'll get to the details about that soon enough. This class, digital writing, it's been around for a while and it's changed in different ways, but I think that this course description is still pretty accurate. And these are the four assumptions we're going to be looking at this semester. The idea that reading and writing are actually technologies. This is something a lot of times people in English departments have a hard time, wrapping their heads around, but it's really true. How we read and write depends on the tools that we use. Writers can include visual and audio elements. That is, that writing is not just limited to words in a row kind of essays, and that of course is going to be very important for the second and third projects. And you need to know something about multimedia tools to be a writer. One of the reasons why this class was created is we had a student who graduated from our program as a writing major, and their first task on a professional writing job was to make a video. And that always struck me as sort of there's a reason to teach this stuff that's beyond just the theory of writing being a technology, but also some very practical skills. Reading and writing materials, everything you're going to need is going to be available to you online. What I would say though is that I would really there's a lot of reading in this class, and I'd really recommend that you find a way to print off these PDFs and don't just read them on the screen. Now, if you don't want to do that, because you need to take notes and stuff, and if you don't want to do that, then I'd recommend that you either use something like Microsoft Word or Google Documents to create a file where you can type up notes, or you have a software that will allow you to annotate a PDF. I use a software called iAnnotate, and what it does is it allows me to highlight a PDF article as if it were paper. And I think that software is really useful. So if you have a device like that, I'd recommend it. But if you don't, figure out some sort of way to take notes on the PDFs that you'll be reading this semester. Now, obviously, this is a class that was originally going to be face-to-face, but we can't meet face-to-face because of COVID. I'm actually okay with that because I teach a lot online, and I've set the class up for the time being so that there's no synchronous meeting and everything will be asynchronous, and I'll talk about how that's going to work in just a second. But I did want to just take a moment to say it doesn't have to be that way for the entire semester. What I'm getting at is that I really think it's a big mistake for people to be having classes that are all synchronous all the time. I think if you did any Zoom stuff in March and April, it can get, kind of old. But at the same time, we all right now, because the class was originally scheduled to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we all do have that built into our schedule. And so if people in the class want to, on a voluntary way, get together electronically on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoons once in a while via Zoom, we can do that. So we can have that conversation. But otherwise, let me sort of outline how I imagine this is going to go with the asynchronous format and how that is going to work for participation. Asynchronous online classes don't mean self-study. Doesn't mean that you can just do things whenever you want. So one of the things, and it also means that there are certain things that you need to be aware of before we get too far into it. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the sort of conditions of that. The first thing is, and you may think that this, and you should read this all on your own too, but just to highlight some stuff, you may think that this is an exaggeration, but I've actually had this problem with teaching online before. You need to have a computer. You can do a lot of the tasks that we're going to be doing this semester via a cell phone or a tablet device, but at the end of the day, you probably need to have a computer. You're also, for this class, probably going to need something like a smartphone, because the second assignment is a audio interview project where you're going to have to record an interview, and the easiest device to use for that is something like a smartphone. And the third project is a video project where you and potentially some collaborators are going to have to record some video, and again, the easiest object for that is something like a smartphone. If you don't have access to that stuff, let me know. We'll figure out a way to get you some access to it. You're going to have to use your EMU Google account extensively. All your writing projects will be done with Google Docs. And the second point here, or the next point here, is that, and this is very important, you have to check your email account every single day. Every single day. The reason why I emphasize that so much is because if something goes wrong with something that you've handed in, like say you didn't set up the Google document correctly, or we need to set up an appointment time, or I need to give you specifically some piece of information about the class, the only way I have to communicate with you is via email. And you'd be surprised at the number of students I had last term who just did not read their EMU email. There's no excuse to not read your email on a regular basis, to just check it once a day. If you don't usually read your EMU email because you use a different service, forward your EMU email to that account. If you never look at these things online, you just look at them on your cell phone device like text messages, set up your cell phone so you can check your email on that device. It's easy to do. And that leads to these next points, which is under no circumstances will I accept an excuse of a problem that was a result of you not reading and responding to your email regarding the class. Okay, so read your email. The other thing is that under no circumstances will I accept a lack of computer access for not getting work done on time. Now, just to be clear, if something happens like the power goes out or whatever, that's a different issue. But this is really a provision I have in here because I've literally had this sort of thing happen before where students have said to me, oh, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks up north in the UP and will be completely unable to participate in class. Is that okay? Well, no, that's not okay. The other thing that I'll just sort of mention this here is about online attendance. You have to be active and participating in the class throughout the week. There's going to be activities Tuesdays through Thursdays and Thursdays through Saturdays. So, and at a minimum, you need to sort of like be present there. If you're completely gone and I don't see you participating in the class at all in that time, I'll count you virtually absent. And if you're virtually absent enough, you can't pass the class. Let's talk about participation in general. It's worth 300 out of 1,000 points, and most of the participation is going to take place in the form of online discussions. You'll see what I mean when we get into it, but just a couple of things to highlight here. First off, you actually have to do the reading. The second thing is that usually I'll have some sort of introductory comment on the discussions, and then before you can see the comments that other people in the class make, you have to post something. So you post something at the beginning of the discussion, and these are short posts, maybe 150 words tops. I'm not looking for a mini book report here or anything like that. It's just conversational things, comments, thoughts, reactions, the kind of thing that you might say in class if we were having a face-to-face class. Then once you respond to somebody, or once you have a post, you'll see other people's posts, and then you can begin by commenting on each other's posts, okay? The most important thing to make this work is you have to do this in a timely fashion. And for our class, what that means is that your initial post is due by the end of Tuesday or Thursday, okay? So here's how this works. The conversations are going to be divided up into sessions where it's Tuesday to Thursday and Thursday to Saturday. But don't think of that Thursday or that Saturday as a deadline. Think of the deadline as being the beginning point. It's really important to start the conversation on Tuesday or Thursday. The reason for that is, well, I always like to give this analogy. Imagine we were having a face-to-face class. We were actually meeting Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock. And we came into class on Tuesday, and instead of actually beginning by talking about the readings or activities or whatever, we just sat there for 45 minutes, didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden, as we're getting closer to the end of class, everybody starts talking and stuff like that all at once. Well, you can't really have a conversation like that, right? So what's key is the beginning point. As long as everybody begins on Tuesday and begins on Thursday, then we have a couple of days where we can actually have a conversation, okay? Let me show you how grading for this works. For each discussion that we have, I'll assign a letter grade for the grade for that particular discussion. If your initial post is on time and you respond to more than one classmate on at least 2 different days, you get an A. So what that means is if you post on Tuesday and then you come back on Wednesday and you respond to 2 other classmates at least, you get an A. Okay? It has to be different days though. That's the thing that I'm trying to get at. B means that your initial post was late, but you do respond to different classmates on at least 2 different days, or your initial post was on time, but you just only responded to one other camp classmate, or not on 2 different days. This sounds more complicated than it actually is. C is your initial post is late and you only respond to one classmate, or you post on time but you don't respond to anybody. D is your initial post is late, and F is that you don't do it. Okay, I'll give a letter grade for each one of these, and then I'll figure out the average of that, and that's how I'll convert it to points for the participation grade for each half of this semester. We'll also be doing a lot of peer review. Peer review is part of the participation grade, and you need to do this in a timely fashion. And the way that I figure this out is most of the grade is indeed the discussions up here. And each half is worth 150 points. So I'll give a grade at the middle of the term and an end of a term based on the discussion. And it's not cumulative. I mean, it's cumulative in the sense that it adds up. But what I'm saying is that you could get 150 points for the first half of the semester and, 100 points for the second half of the semester or something like that. And I'll adjust the points based on peer review. In other words, if you don't do a very good job of peer review, I'll take away points. If you do a good job, I might add some. Needless to say, it is a writing class, so most of the class is worth 700 projects are worth 700 points. There are 3 major projects this semester, and actually you can click on these links to read the details of those assignments anytime you want. The first one we'll start talking about is your Invent Your Own Technology project, and that is where you make something that's writing, but with your own tools. You'll see what I mean when we get there. And you write an essay about it. The second project is you record an interview with someone and edit it. More in the style, as I say here, of a StoryCorps interview, and then you also write an essay about it. And then the PSA project is a project where you can do collaboratively if you want to, but where you will make a video of a public service announcement, something having to do with COVID. And you will also, along with this project, write a script, and you will create a storyboard, and you'll do this before you make the video, and you'll also write an essay about it. So each 3 of these projects have some kind of making element to it, and an essay reflecting on that process. Okay, you should follow the rules of MLA. I don't really accept late projects unless you tell me ahead of time that something's going to be late because you've got some sort of change in schedule and things like that. In order to pass the course, you have to complete all the writing projects regardless of your grades and any of the other components of the course, and regardless of the grade with the missing components. In other words, if for some reason you decided just to not do the video project, which I don't understand why you would do that, there's no way that you can pass the course regardless of the grades that you have and other things. Here's some stuff about grading, and a few thoughts about the current moment that we're in. I think we have to acknowledge that we're in very weird times. This is a historically significant, tragic time that we're living through right now. I'm 54, and I cannot think of anything in my life, including 9/11, for goodness sakes, that has had more of a change in the way that the world works. And I had a conversation with my father about this not too long ago, and he's pushing 80, and he feels the same way. So we have to really acknowledge that that's going on. Now, I don't want this to be a class about that. In some ways, I want this to be a class that's a refuge from that. But we also need to sort of remember that we're all humans behind these screens here, and we're all here to help each other out. So I will do my best if you have some sort of issue related to COVID or pretty much anything else to give you a hand, and I'll certainly let you know what I know, what's going on in my life regarding COVID and what's going on at EMU with how they're responding to it and things like that. Just a little bit of an acknowledgement that we're all in this together, and there's a level of sort of support that I think we need to have for each other that's maybe a little bit different than what would it be in a normal semester. Okay, let me go back to the syllabus and then I'll start talking about the way that the course is set up on Canvas. Okay, just a moment on the fine print, if you will. Obviously, don't plagiarize. And then the other thing is that all these campus resources, these are links to various things on campus that are there to help you succeed. There's all this stuff about academic stuff, academic project center, the writing center, things like that. But there's also support for psychological issues, for disability issues. There's the LGBTQ center stuff. There's the affirmative action office, the Title IX office, the food pantry, which is there for people who are having food problems. And there's all kinds of different resources like this. I don't know if I can necessarily answer the questions for how do I get support with whatever, but I can probably help you find the people to ask. So please don't hesitate to ask if that's something that comes up. Finally, let me show you a little bit about how the Canvas site is set up. Okay, you'll notice that all I have over here is syllabus, grades, which is the grade book, people, so you can connect other people in the class and me, Zoom, and library guides. That's it. I don't have any modules or other sorts of stuff like that. And I really would encourage you to sort of ignore this column as well too. Everything you need is going to be right here. So the page that has this traffic sign, that's the map, the road to follow, if you will, through the whole class. Get it? All right. So you already found this because beginning by the first day, that's right there. This is discussion where you'll introduce yourself to your peers. And I'm surprised that you're able to see that. But I actually, once you log in, you'll see that there's another, that you'll be able to see a comment from somebody else there. That would be me introducing myself. And I just give you an idea of like, something along those lines of like, tell us a little bit about who you are and maybe share a picture and stuff like that. And you would do that in this reply area right here. Okay. And then that's kind of like how it will go from there on out. So the next thing this is required. Both of these are required and graded discussions. That is, everyone I'm expecting to introduce themselves and to say a couple comments to other people. And this one too, everyone I'm expecting to watch this video and have a couple comments on what people have to say about it. This is kind of a funny one, so hopefully you will agree with me that it's humorous. And that's due on September 1st. Okay, so the Tuesday, by the end of the day, to get an A on these discussions, that means that you need to post your initial comment on Tuesday and finish your comments by Thursday. Okay, then we move into September 3rd, start talking about the assignments, the selection from Plato, and that's kind of like how the course progresses. Okay, the course is pretty well set up all the way through week 5. After week 5, it gets a little bit more abstract because you'll notice there's some things that say TBA. That's because I've taught this class before, many times before, but it's been a few years, and so I want to update some of these readings. So this is probably what we're going to be reading and doing, but I will get to more of the details very specifically as soon as I know them. Okay, class progresses like this. After the StoryCorps project, you'll see we get into the video project. We'll do some script and storyboard workshopping. We'll have some time right around before Thanksgiving to work on the videos themselves. And then we'll start peer review on the essays for the public service announcement project in week 14. And then what I didn't record there, but I'm sure you can figure it out, is that the PSA project, the video, the storyboard, and the script is all going to be due the last week of class. This is a class where there's a lot more reading and stuff, reading activities up front, and there's less so in the second half, and certainly this for the PSA part of it, mainly because we're going to be spending a fair amount of time for the audio, the interview project, and the video project, actually trying to figure out how to use some of these tools. So that's part of what's going on there. I think that's about it. So what I'd like you to do is look over the materials on your own, and below here in this discussion, right underneath there, ask whatever questions you might have about the logistics of the class, an assignment, the syllabus, how it's set up, anything you want. And then in the next discussion, introduce yourself, include a picture or video or something like that, because after all, if we were all face to face, we'd see what you look like, so you might as well share that with us now. And then also start on the discussions. I'm also really curious to hear either with your responses to this video and the syllabus, or as you introduce yourself or something like that, what interest there might be in some not required but scheduled synchronous discussions. Okay, again, as I said at the beginning of the video, I'm assuming that we want to do this asynchronously, but you know, we don't have to. I think that makes sense. Okay, I'm looking forward to getting started this semester. Thanks for watching this far. I'll certainly see you online, and let's have a good semester. Okay.